This is one Raj Ramaya who sang for the Cowboy Bebop movie.
Sang Ask DNA. Right?
Yeah, Ask DNA, exactly. Was a guest on the podcast too. Isn't that crazy to say out loud?
Yeah.
That someone who sang for the Cowboy Bebop movie has been on this very podcast that you're on right now.
I love that song too.
Yeah,
Awesome.
It's insane to me. It's amazing. So how Raj Ramaya met Yoko Kanno and created his iconic Cowboy Bebop voice.
Yeah, you mentioned Yoko Kanno, and I think it's a cornerstone of your work for sure. It's definitely something I hear the influences with listening to your music. And when we mention Yoko Kanno, we must mention Cowboy Bebop. It remains one of the most iconic anime soundtracks of all time. And I would love to, like, if you could take us back to like the story of how you first got connected with Yoko Kanno.
Yeah, well, as I mentioned, the TV commercials, as a singer, my voice was really in demand as a session singer in Japan. So I was getting a lot of calls from agencies and management companies who wanted me to write songs with different artists and also to sing TV commercials because they love these Beatlesque voices in Japan.
Oh,
my voice is Beatlesque, and it fit for products, and then so that was my in. A lot of kind of big time composers were actually making their living writing TV commercials,
right?
And so I got a chance to become good friends with them because they'd call me up and say, "Can you sing this?" And I'd go down to the studios with my agent, and that's how I met her. Okay. I was singing for some, I can't remember what it was exactly. I've been asked many times, but I'm pretty sure some kids products.
Okay.
And she was working in this tiny little studio in I think it was in Roppongi. And I remember meeting her for the first time and singing some commercials for her and getting to know her and her manager. At that time, she was with a company called Grand Funk, I believe, as a composer. And this is before Cowboy Bebop, pre any of that anime. It was just the beginning of that anime stuff, like late 90s, before all of that stuff really started. I think she was dipping into it, but it wasn't there. And then again, like I said, I met a lot of composers who started in that sort of underground, dingy little studios writing TV commercials world. It was an interesting world. So yeah, that's how I got started. That's where I met her. And then she reconnected with me years later, and said, "Hey, I have some jobs for you to sing for something called anime." And I was like, "I don't know what anime is." And I don't think anybody really knew what anime was at that time. And and that's how we got started, basically.
Wow. So how do you, from that starting point, go into singing Ask DNA, and like how involved was Yoko Kanno with that, like the vocal direction, or like was it freedom to interpret how you wanted? Like how do you jump from the beginnings to singing a very significant song for the Cowboy Bebop movie?
Well, she at the time, as I mentioned, a lot of the Japanese composers and songwriters wanted like a Western influence,
right?
So a new flavor in their music. They wanted the British taste, the North American taste, and so there were a lot of collaborative songwriters. Not a lot. There's a group of collaborative songwriters that had moved to Tokyo like me, and wanted to get involved, and so they would invite us to help them demo, right? So we'd write lyrics, or we'd write some melodies, and so I got signed to her label, Victor Entertainment. So I was writing for a lot of different people. I was demoing lots of material, and she was one of many people that I was working with demoing material. So I'd be in my apartment writing some songs and making a demo and sending it in every week, and so she was the most successful, one of the more successful ones. But there were lots of other people I was doing the same thing, co-writing. And I, of course, co-write other songs on Bebop too. But at the time, we were kind of ghostwriters, and so we were just collaborative writers. That we weren't the stars, so we were in the background, kind of working with people, which went on for many years on the label. And so that would be it. She would send a demo, and she'd say, "Sing something on top of this," or I would write an idea, write some lyrics, and then send it over, and she'd say, "Okay, change this, change that," or "I like it. Let's find somebody else to sing it." And that was kind of the same sort of pattern, not just with her, but with a lot of different composers and artists in Japan at the time. Most people didn't speak English, so they needed lyrics, and they didn't have that sort of Western sense of melody. They were sort of figuring out how they were supposed to sound. They wanted to incorporate it, but they're like, it's not very legitimate if it's a bunch of people who studied in Japan writing songs that are supposed to be kind of American or Canadian influenced, North American influenced songs. They needed that sort of that factor in there to make it more authentic, I guess, right?
Morgan, you told me, hey, the cinema is playing the Cowboy Bebop movie.
Yeah, we went to see it in cinemas. That's true.
So I went with you, and then a few years later, sat down with the person who sang in that movie.
Yeah.
What a full circle moment.
It's true. It's true. It's very cool. And it's always a highlight. It's when you watch the movie, you think, oh, are we gonna get like, you know, the music from the show, or are we gonna get like Tank and all this? But then you get Ask DNA, and it's such a curveball from the show, and then you realize like, oh, actually we're gonna get original music in this movie. And that's one of the great things, is that the movie, you get a nice new, you think, you know, even the original soundtrack has like so many albums to it, but it's nice that even the film decided to add even more to the canon, which is really great.
Yeah, absolutely.
So it's but I love Bebop. I love the movie. And this is an awesome interview to have there, and he brings up some good points too, about like kind of, you know, people wanting influences from different places, and especially like Bebop is of course anime, so it's made in Japan, but it has such a strong Western influence that it's trying to not be what anime was at the time, right? It has a lot of aesthetic choices, and you know, they are cowboys. Cowboys is a Western, you know, thing. So it's really it makes sense that they were looking outside for that, and that really checks out.
Absolutely. And the thing too for me is that he really goes into detail as to how he and Yoko Kanno got connected, and it's once again like one of those things where like I'm literally talking to someone who like shaped my childhood. Like, it's insane to think about that. Like, those people, they're regular people like you and I, but they have such a, like, through the power of like anime, and specifically anime music, they leave this like imprint on our heart that like, As DNA is a phenomenal song. And Raj is also someone who sang in Wolf's Rain and other animes. Like, this person's like very talented anime vocalist. Just like, what a beautiful like privilege to be able to pick these people's brains.